What's up, guys? You are on the air and off the books with Bethann and Samantha, and today we are going to be discussing what we are currently reading, of course. I am currently reading The Teacher. Well, I currently already finished it. The Teacher by Frida McFadden. And Bethann, what are you reading?
So I finished, what I'm going to talk about today is we're going to cover When Among Crows, which is an arc that's not released yet. Do a little summary of that. We'd also like to thank Tor for sending us physical and e-arcs of this to be able to review for you guys. This is something I think you guys would like to pick up. It's When Among Crows by Veronica Roth.
And I was also supposed to read this, but I lost my arc in the depths of my house in the process of me trying to read it. So I'm going to find that and I'm going to read that.
And hopefully we'll write a review for the book on the blog. So you guys can get a little bit of an extra little, perspective on that. And then I finished Old Man's War by John Scalzi, which he's becoming quickly one of my favorite authors. And I really...
Is he the one that wrote the cat book? Starter
Villain. Which was fantastic. I don't know. He's just such a, I feel like people are sleeping on him.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Wake up, people.
You guys gotta, get with it. The first book I ever read by him was Kaiju Preservation Society, which came out last year or the year before. I can't remember.
I think it was the year before.
It might have been. But if you guys don't know what kaiju are, they're it's...
Dinosaur. Giant dino nuggets.
Essentially, yeah. They're like these giant, oversized monsters. Godzilla is the most well-known kaiju, I think, ever. So it's a book about how you go to this alternate Earth and you take care of kaiju.
When I first saw the book, I thought it was about, an evil dog because of the book Cujo.
Oh. Oh, that's interesting.
So, yeah, I thought it was about a dog. It's not.
No, it's
Spoiler alert.
It's such an interesting... He writes such an interesting... I don't know how to explain it. Right now I'm reading book 2 of Old Man's War, that series. It's a 6-book series. And this is Ghost Brigades. And... I was writing out, some of my thoughts on Goodreads, and he doesn't really have, why am I reading this? I don't know. It's just good. This is hardcore sci-fi. This isn't fantasy. It's definitely space race kind of situation. War stories. It's,
Is it like Lost, but with...
No.
Monster, dragon... dinosaurs?
No, it's actually the colonization of space, essentially. But in that sounds boring. It's much better than that. And he does talk about subjects of the morality of cloning humans and building people off of the dead's DNA and
which you shouldn't do.
Which, maybe you should. I don't know, because he talks about all of this stuff and broaches all of this subject throughout this series, and I think that's really awesome because he really brings out certain points, but it's just a really awesome tale he's telling in all of these different stories. Starter Villain, so many laughs. Kaiju Preservation Society had some chuckles, but it was so scientifically interesting to me, and there were some good action parts, but overall, I don't know, he's just good at what he does. So if you really are looking into some good sci-fi, but you don't know where to start, these aren't very long.
They're
pretty light.
Are they just pretty, even paced?
Yeah, they are.
So there's no, climax?
Not really. I would say that there's not if you're looking for, these big build-ups and huge, massive drops, it doesn't have those things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a lot of action. It doesn't have a lot of emotional ups and downs. Old Man's War had some very sad, very emotional parts. I didn't cry, but it was touching and moving and thought-provoking. And it was fantastic. So these are This is what I'm into this year, I guess, is sci-fi. I'm reading a lot of sci-fi this year.
You're in your sci-fi era.
Yeah, which is odd, I guess.
Well, I decided to... Well, actually, Lori Hugley got me to pick up The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I've read, I think, just one other book by her. It was The Housemaid. I have not read book number 2. And I feel like there's...
Secret?
Yeah, I feel like there's a third book,
Coming out, yeah, I think so. Unless it's already out. It's like a white cover, I thought.
Yeah, I'm okay with just reading The Housemaid. I don't think that I will ever go on and read books 2 and 3. But The Teacher was really, it was good. It was entertaining, and it was a quick read. I'm going to read the little synopsis for you guys. Lesson number 1, trust no one. Eve has a good life. She gets up each day, gets a kiss from her husband Nate, and heads off to teach math at the local high school. All is as it should be, except last year, Kasem High was rocked by a scandal involving a student-teacher affair with one student, Addie, at its center. But Eve knows there is far more to these ugly rumors than meets the eye. Addie can't be trusted. She lies, she hurts people, she destroys lives. At least that's what everybody says. But nobody knows the real Addie. Nobody knows the secrets that could destroy her. And Addie will do anything to keep it quiet. So this book was kind of insane. At first, it starts with 2 different perspectives. It goes from the perspective of Eve, which is the teacher, and then it switches to Addie, who is the student that is like shunned for having a supposed affair. And you just kind of get...
I feel like you really get the ick.
You get the ick from everybody's point of view. Yeah. And then towards like the second half of the book, which is more like 70% through, it gives you...
feeds you more information?
It gives you Nate's perspective, which is the husband of Eve. And you just kind of know that there's something going on with all of these characters that's not right.
It feels very confession-esque when you describe it. Like, it's in that kind of genre where it's that thrillery, weird...
Yeah, it was very... I would say there's a lot of trigger warnings in this book. There's death, of course, and then there's like some underage stuff happening. Yeah,
experiences, things like that.
Yeah, the one thing that was crazy to me about this book is that she just decided to throw in like every single twist in the last like 2 chapters.
So would you say that this is more suspense or thriller?
I would say this is more... I would say it's suspense like most of the way through, and then towards the end, it's a thriller.
Okay.
Yeah, so it gives you... I think when I was reading it, I had like 27 theories in my head I was talking to Trisha about. I'm like, I bet this is going to happen, and I bet that it's going to turn out to be like all these people's just imaginations and nothing's actually real.
Nothing's actually happening. It's in her head or something.
Yeah. So that's what I thought was happening. I'm not going to spoil it just because it's a small book and it's a quick read. So I think that you should pick it up. And I do want to read. I think I'm going to give some of her other books a try. I want to read Never Lie. I actually bought that book. Well, my hubs bought it for me for my birthday. And then I want to read The Inmate. And I think those are the 2 that I'll read by her. And then I'll probably be done. Because I'm not a huge thriller reader right now.
You're honestly reading a lot of it right now, though.
I know.
I think this is your 3rd book of the year
I feel like the last podcast I was like, done with thriller.
Well, because you read that true crime and it really kind of rocked your soul.
Yeah. The more that I think about that book, the less I like it, but the less I, enjoy it.
Do you ever just get like, okay, so unpack that real fast. Like when you read this book, you were like, this is really awesome, but it's super dark and like
morbid.
I
liked it, but I did not like it.
And the more that you chew on it, the more you're like, what did I just expose myself to?
Yeah,
what did I just book. Like? And then you said,
and that was If I Tell You by Greg Olson.
Yeah, and then the more that it like molds into your brain, into your conscience, and your everyday life, and that those things, like experiences trigger the memories of that book, you're just like, why did I do this to myself? Like,
yeah, and I think
I've had books like that.
I think it was because it was a true crime book, and I think that true crime makes me a little uncomfy.
Oh, I think that's why people read it.
Even though I like to watch, like, I used to really like watching true crime and, like, you know, those Dateline shows and stuff that.
I listen to a few podcasts every now and again, but I can't do it too often.
I just can't do it.
I think it's just so overwhelmingly sad because of the state of how everything is right now. Yeah. And I feel like it causes me to be very dark-minded. Like, I get very sad, and I don't need to have an excuse to go there.
I think that I start thinking about this could happen to me, and how,
or my family, or other people I'm around,
and how can you prevent this from happening? And then you spiral into the ball of like doom thoughts.
Yeah, like it's a deep spiral of depression. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like
maybe what I'm trying to say here is I need to stay away from true crime novels. I think the thing that really did it in for me for true crime was watching the who was the cannibal guy? Dahmer. Was watching Dahmer.
I can't even.
The new show that came out. I've never really been disturbed by any horror movies or anything like that, but that was very disturbing, and I would like borderline was crying in some parts, so I was like, maybe I've scarred myself for life here.
I feel like we mentally do ourselves a disservice sometimes. We traumatize ourselves for no reason from some things. Like, there's some things that I'm just not meant to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one that I won't watch. But do you think that this book, The Teacher, is a good pickup after people read Confessions?
Yes, I think it is very light. It's like a light thriller. Whatever that means in my head, it means that it is easy to read, and it's not too horrifying that you're just gonna be kind of disturbed after you read it. And it's fiction, so even though stuff like this happens literally every single day, all the time, because
people are weird.
That teachers and that's a huge thing.
There's so many weird things coming out right now,
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe in a couple weeks I'll get paranoid about that, and I'll start thinking about it, and I'll just be like, what if this happens? And then I'll be like, scary. Well, can't read any more Frida McFadden for a while, but
interesting.
I don't know. Like, it was fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't disturbed. It was an easy read. It was entertaining, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. You should read it. You should read Confessions and read that. Old Man's War is a hard sci-fi. It's not fantasy, even though it's in sci-fi fantasy section. And it's actually John Scalzi's first foray into just hard, like, bottom line science fiction. And what it is, it's the Earth in the future, and the Earth has sent off people into space through something called the Colonial Union to colonize space with humans. And the Colonial Union is a separate entity from the world in that it's its own, like, it has its own leaderhead, it has its own system of government, etc., etc., etc. So what happened is that history happens, and the United States beats out other parts of the world, and the other parts of the world are colonized, and people are volunteer to be sent up into space to colonize these other worlds to populate planets. But the United States, because they won this war on Earth, do not get to volunteer to go into colonize space. So the only way that they can volunteer for the Colonial Union is when they're 75. They can go sign up at, like, you know, how you go sign up for the military all the time in, like, those little, like, places you walk and you're like, I want to be in the Air Force. So they have these. And so they tell you very little. And one of the biggest catches is when you sign up to go and leave for the Colonial Union, you're pronounced legally dead here on Earth.
Whoa.
And you give us your body, mind, everything. And you have to serve us for 2 to 10 years. So it's about this man who has lost his wife. His son is grown. His grandson is grown. And he's alone. And he's tired of visiting his wife's grave every day. And so he decides that he's going to do what he and his wife wanted to do all along and go and join the Colonial Union and see space, the final frontier. And he really doesn't understand what he's signing up for.
Yeah, no, that could not be me.
It's wild. So essentially what happens is that he goes up into the clouds, into space, and the universe is at war with every other alien species because they're also trying to populate the stars. And there's only so many inhabitable planets in the universe. And there are aliens who are sentient and who are smarter than us, who are just as smart as us, who aren't as smart as us, etc., etc., etc. And so all of these diverse civilizations of aliens are at war with humanity to fight over these planets. And what they do is they use the elders of Earth to, as a war, as an army to go against these people. Because
as the old man's war.
As the old man's war, exactly. And so along that process, a lot of things happen to alter these older people, to give them the tools that they need. I'm trying not to spoil it because it's a pretty crazy revelation when you get into the book. To be able to fight, because how is a 75-year-old man supposed to hold a gun and fight aliens?
Right.
Well, read it and find out.
But we need a little a noise thing.
We do, a little soundboard thingy.
Yeah. Put that in the budget.
Yeah,
Ben.
should get on that.
He'll get us one for sure.
He won't.
Probably not.
Kaylee,
tell Ben to do that.
Kaylee, shout out to Kaylee. So this whole thing goes through the moral dilemma of, what we do with people after they've died, what happens to people when they make these decisions and they give their life up, how far the military can go, what we're, it talks about race, it talks about a whole lot. It really does unpack a lot. Other than it being a pretty simple read about a man who goes and he just wants to live his life again. He just wants to experience life again. And so, John Perry, that's the main character, it's chronicling his adventure through this war and how he becomes this, essentially, a super soldier. And it's so good. It was so good. I really, really liked it. No, not a 10 out of 10, but it was a 4 out of 5. So it was a 9 out of 10. There were some things in there that I was like, ooh, I didn't think that was necessary. But overall, in general, I really liked the themes. I liked the main character. I liked the flow of the story. It felt fast. It wasn't really slow. There was just enough information. If you're like me, a lot of information can really bog you down. I really like Brandon Sanderson a lot, and I'm reading Words of Radiance. But I'm reading it at a snail's pace because there's so much to absorb. With John Scalzi, not that Brandon Sanderson is wrong for that. I enjoy him for other reasons, but this is such a good, fast read. And it really makes you think, and it's just so enjoyable because you really get attached to these people.
Yeah.
And so I really think that this is something that if you really like sci-fi, if you haven't tried this yet, you should try it. There's 6 books. It's a good little series. They're only 300-something pages. So for Samantha, that's nothing.
That's a novella.
It's a novella. So pick that up. I'm on Ghost Brigades right now. It's also really, really good. I think it's probably going to also be a 4 out of 5. And he really has a good way of making you feel for the enemy and stuff too. So definitely pick this book up. Also, When Among Crows by Veronica Roth is coming out. This is a novella. It was sent to us by Tor. Like we said, thank you so much, Tor. We really appreciate that.
I really like the cover. It's really pretty.
It's gorgeous. It's a very Catholic window looking, you know what I mean? Like a very stained glass,
yeah.
very medieval, crusade kind of.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, it's very nice. I would say that I thought going into this book it would be comparable to Thornhedge and Butcher of the Forest. It's not. This is a more modern fantasy, and what it's about is it's about this man who goes on the hunt for Baba Yaga, or however you say it, the infamous chicken-legged house witch lady, the boogeyman, essentially. And his intent is to kill her. And he is part of this order that hunts out nightmares and hunts out all these different monsters that you would... The author, Veronica Roth, does a very good job of using actual monsters from folklore and myth.
I feel like... What else did she write? Because I feel...
She's a very popular author.
She wrote the Divergent series.
Yes.
That's why I recognize the name.
And so I would say that if you really like fantasy but you want a modern twist on it, with all of the monsters that all of the folklore and stuff, she really it's a really good job. She melds all that together. I would say for me, this isn't quite what I'm looking for because I would rather have an old school approach to it.
Yeah.
But it's really good. For me, it was a little bit slow, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. For a novella, it's been very slow for me. But I really love the concepts. I really like, there's a holy order in this particular book where the knights have to sign up for the holy order by splicing their spine while they're alive and using that to create their sword.
Ew.
And so when they kill monsters, they have to reach behind their back into their neck and rip the sword out of their back.
That sounds comfy.
And, the descriptions of the blood dripping off the sword in the back and how they have to, vow to kill this monster and, all this other stuff. You really are conflicted about what's good, what's evil, etc., etc.
Right.
And so there's a lot of, history in it from different countries and things like that. Like I said, she does a really good job modernizing some of the stories that we know from fairy tale.
Right.
And so I would recommend picking this up. This is going to be out in, I believe... Would you look that up for me? I thought it was March, but I could absolutely be wrong. I want to let you guys know.
Crows
we should be getting it.
Comes out on May 14th.
May 14th. So pick this up. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because I think that you should read it. But this is a really good fantasy novella. And I think it's a really awesome take. A lot of authors are writing a lot of novellas with fairy tales in mind.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job. So shout out to all y'all. And yeah, that's what we're kind of reading right now. I'm reading a lot more, but
I finally started reading Throne of Glass again. I'm on book 4. I started on book 4 because that's what I left off.
Gotcha.
I feel like I remembered enough to not start over again. So,
do you think that you love this more than you like ACOTAR? People say they either like ACOTAR or
so far,
Glass.
No. But I heard it's a really slow start. So there is
4 books is a pretty slow start, Samantha.
4 books that have room for improvement. Okay.
It was her first series. So.
Ask me when I'm done, and then I might be like, greatest series ever.
You just have to get past book 5.
I almost like Crescent City more than ACOTAR, but I feel like I don't, so I don't know. It's very close.
You're allowed to like it all.
Yeah. I just love them all, yeah. And then
you're allowed to like it all, guys.
I do want to read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. She's normally like a rom-com author.
I saw that. It's like a werewolf romance.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing that now too. That's big right now.
And I'm not really big on werewolf romance, so
yeah.
We will see if I like it. And then I've got goals for 2024, okay? Whew. I'm going to read historical fiction.
We're also going to read a nonfiction.
Yeah, and it's going to be The Four Winds. Well, the historical fiction is going to be The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna.
Oh, I want to read that.
Okay, so we'll read it together.
Okay, I have it on my shelf.
I will suffer with you.
I love historical fiction. It's one of my favorites. I haven't read a lot of it in a while, so that would be great.
Bethann will not be suffering. Maybe it'll just
It's like the Dust
open
Bowl,
up
right?
it'll open up a new door for me. Like, I used to hate fantasy, like sci-fi fantasy. So, unless it was like YA, and finally I got myself out of YA.
Mass changed that.
Yes. And
no,
then,
actually, Rebecca Yarros changed that for you.
Yes, that's true. And then, of course, I am impatiently waiting on the last book of Zodiac Academy, which we have ordered, and I'm so excited. And I already convinced somebody to read the whole series. She's already like done with it. She loved it. So, yay.
Awesome. Yeah, we are getting that. That's coming in. And also, we're going to read a nonfiction. We're going to have, hopefully, Austin on. And we're going to talk about The Wager.
Yes.
And that's
which is...
It's supposed to be a really fast-paced fiction
feeling. It's going to be a trek
feeling.
for me.
People say it's gross, and it's weird and creepy, and I'm here.
Yes.
If it reads like a fiction, I'm down for it. So I'm always looking to expand my nonfiction. Sorry that you have to mask as fiction to appease me, but we're doing our best. We're out here doing the best we can.
I also want to read a lot of manga. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about much of them on the podcast.
Yeah, we don't have a lot.
But I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
I'm reading Doro Hedoro right now.
I'm going to find a loophole.
Yeah. We're going to try to figure out how to, like, see if we can.
It'll be like a honorable mention. Like, at the end, we're going to be like, hey, just read this, okay?
Yeah.
Bye.
That's right. I really like this series a lot. I think you would. I actually don't know if you would like it. It's very gory, but it's fantastic.
I want to read more manga. I used to read manga a lot, and I haven't read manga for years. So that's a goal. Historical fiction is a goal. Nonfiction, at least one nonfiction.
One. Yeah. I'm not trying to read 8.
Yeah. And then throw a couple easy thrillers in there.
Finish a bunch of big books.
Yeah. I'm on book, I think, 13 now, so.
Yeah, my goal is to be ready for Wind and Truth by December, and I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Oh, I'm on book 2 of Stormlight Archive, and I'm, like, so behind.
You can do it. But yes, every book we mention here, go check it out. Come to the library. We'll put it on hold for you. If we have it here, we will hand it to you personally. Yeah. With our own 2 hands.
2 hands.
And then we will suggest 40 other books for you.
If you want that,
yes.
We'll do that for you.
So join us on, well, you can't come join us on our next episode, but you can listen in.
True.
So.
Be there.
Be there or be square. And have a great rest of the week.
Bye.